Hey, what's going on, you guys? Hey, welcome back to another episode with Trek. Hey, it looks like Bill Gates is coming clean, like we believed him in the first place. We knew he was in them files for a reason. Now let's go ahead and get into that, along with a whole lot of other interesting topics. Before we get into it, make sure to smash that like button for me, hit that hype button, and smash that subscribe button if you're not a part of the iTrack fam, man. Now let's go ahead and get right into it.
We turn now to Microsoft founder Bill Gates, his eye-opening apology for his relationship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. In a town hall meeting with employees, Gates admitting to 2 affairs with Russian women and what he says about the photos of him in the Epstein files. Here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates revealing more damaging information about his personal life and admitting to a series of stunning lapses in judgment in building a relationship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Today, the fallout growing as Gates was pressed by employees at a Gates Foundation town hall. According to the Wall Street Journal, which revealed audio of the meeting, Gates told employees it was a huge mistake to spend time with Epstein. He acknowledged that his relationship with Epstein began after Epstein was convicted of soliciting a minor. And he claimed that he, one of the wealthiest men in the world, did not properly research Epstein's background that would have revealed his sordid past. Knowing what I know now makes it, 100 times worse. Gates acknowledged his association probably helped Epstein rehabilitate his image. And he revealed other damning specifics, saying the men flew together on a private jet and that they hung out in Germany, France, New York, and Washington. But Gates was adamant that he never witnessed any criminal activity. But Gates did acknowledge he had affairs with 2 Russian women. And Gates also addressed these photos, saying there were pictures Epstein asked him to take with his assistants. His ex-wife recently saying Gates needs to answer questions.
Those questions are for those people and for even my ex-husband. They need to answer to those things, not me.
Well,
and I am so happy to be away from all the muck.
David Gates' indiscretions contributed to the failure of his marriage. And tonight, another powerful man suffering the consequences of his ties to Epstein. Former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers resigning from Harvard because of his relationship with Epstein. David?
Pierre Thomas, who continues to cover the Epstein case for us. Pierre, thanks.
Hey, it's clear Bill Gates' ex-wife is ready for him to be cooked. Nobody's ever became a billionaire by accident. You definitely have to have a certain level of intelligence. So for his excuse about not doing any background checks, I don't know. Sounds kind of fishy. We knew it was coming.
I'll switch your wife out and I'll put another one of your wife in her side of her body. And they're walking around and you think that's your wife and it's not your wife. This is what's going on. It's no longer, like I said, it's no longer spiritual. We figured out how to, turn into spirit and exchange the soul in order to control the vessel. So if I have the vessel and I'm just nothing but spirit, I can ruin your life. That's what everybody has been going through. So they can't recognize it unless you say things like the switch. So when they watch that and they see that there's other people that can identify other than me, it's not just me playing games. It's the truth. We have to be careful with who we want. You'll be in the car with Paul, man, but you're really in the car with Peter. But that's Paul's body. But why is Peter in Paul's body? I've been going through this for a while in order to figure out and identify every soul inside of every vessel. To where we can all identify it, and it's not just me that can do it. We can all identify who we are. We can all say, you know what, we're still here.
So how do I know Orlando's in Orlando's body right now?
Man, I would be 6 inches taller. Haven't you seen Kanye?
Why does Ray J look like Kanye now?
Probably because he is.
You say that a lot. You say a lot of people are other people.
Well, no, bro. You have to look at the vessel and look at how things work. If you love someone, you should know how they work inside of their own vessel. When they move that spirit to the next vessel, they still do the same thing is all I've been saying.
And you know what? Over time, Orlando is looking less and less crazy because we're starting to see what actually was going on. And I think it started with those files.
Fun fact of the day. In 2013, the city of Vancouver in British Columbia banned doorknobs in new constructions.
What was the craziest ceremony that was done on you for you to go to the next level?
I think the worst ceremony I received was when I sold my soul to the devil.
What did that look like?
17 warlocks came to be initiated to sell their souls, and all of them passed out because they shed so much blood. They couldn't stay on their feet. And Chago was the man that did the ceremony. He was the highest devil rank in the world.
This was the moment an airport security worker in the Philippines swallowed $300 in cash to avoid being arrested. The money had allegedly been taken from a passenger's bag during a routine screening, and when the traveler reported it missing, airport staff confronted the employee as cameras were rolling. Her bizarre attempt to hide the evidence quickly went viral online, prompting officials to suspend her from duty while an investigation moved forward. Here's the before and after of an imperial crown left mangled following the 2025 Louvre heist, where thieves forced it through a narrow slit cut into its reinforced display case, crushing the delicate gold frame as they pulled it free. During the escape, the damaged crown was dropped just outside of the museum and quickly recovered by authorities, though it had been badly deformed from being forced out and striking the ground. The Louvre has since formed a restoration committee and begun seeking proposals to fix it, with early estimates starting around $50,000, though officials say the real cost will come from the painstaking hours of delicate repair needed to rebuild the 170-year-old piece.
That lady was trying to swallow the money, but wouldn't it have been much easier just to put it in your pocket and say that it was yours? And they watched her eat it too. I bet they were laughing the whole time.
What the heck is going on here? Oh, other than this astronaut very oddly using this tool. Looks like me trying to look busy when the boss is about to walk by. Steve, America and their $3 billion are watching. Look busy. So have you seen this video of this supposed spacewalk from the ISS? Notice anything specifically strange about it? Why are we hearing sound? So, as many are aware, there is no sound in space because space is mostly a vacuum lacking the air molecules required for sound waves to travel, making it silent to the human ear. So then why are we hearing what sounds like ambient sounds coming from the ISS spacewalk? Now, what it wants us to believe is that what we're actually hearing is conducted vibrations from within the spacesuit or space station structure. But the AI response also admitted that yes, audio is frequently added or enhanced in post-production for NASA's videos. And as many of you know from my previous videos, NASA appears to use post-production a lot in its videos, as it also admitted here, saying that yes, NASA uses computer-generated imagery, or CGI. So obviously, yes, NASA's going to doctor up videos a bit before releasing them. But again, as shown in many of my previous videos, why do they require a green screen when shown to be on the space station? And why would they need to add sound to a spacewalk?
Because NASA knows we're catching on to all the cap that they got going on.
Large urban park built on the grounds of a former steel foundry in the city of Monterrey, Mexico. At first, the footage appears completely ordinary. Then, without warning, something enters the frame. A ghostly figure briefly appears, moving across the screen toward the right before vanishing from view. The shape lacks clear detail, yet is distinctly human in outline. The moment is easy to miss if you're not watching closely, but once you see it, it's hard to ignore.
First time in human history that I've ever seen a squirrel eating a fucking burger. Literally, he just had a whole fucking burger, bro. I ain't never seen that shit.
How many pieces of your child's favorite candy they can consume per year before they surpass their safe level of arsenic intake. They can have 16 whole Black Forest gummy bears per year. They can have 4 Laffy Taffies per year. 96 nerds a year. That's probably less than what's in one of those mini boxes they get trick-or-treating. They can have 24 nerd gummy clusters, 48 pieces of Sweet Tart Originals, 3 Sweet Tart Ropes per year, 12 pieces of the Trolley Sour Gummy Worms, 1.5 Hershey's Cookies and Cream Bars, 6 Jolly Ranchers per year, specifically the sour apple and the strawberry, 2 2/5 Kit Kats, 4 Twizzlers strawberry, but you're in luck if you like the cherry. If you like the cherry, you can have 8 whole cherry Twizzlers annually. When I eventually have children, I should really learn to make homemade gummy bears.
Hey, now that should be absolutely illegal. Arsenic will kill you.
Here are the top 3 signs you have a deeper calling in life that you're ignoring. In ancient times, this calling was often referred to as the calling of the gods, which was thought to be a pull from spirit to get you to step into a bigger path, begin your hero's journey, and live out the soul mission you were meant to fulfill. The first sign that you have a deeper calling is that you feel a subtle dissatisfaction that won't go away. This is that quiet sense that something's missing, even if life looks fine on paper. You can tell yourself to be grateful and try to numb it out, but that feeling usually means your heart is pulling you towards something greater and more aligned with who you truly are. The second sign is that you feel like you have to fake who you are in order to fit in with others and get through your day. No matter how we justify it, living inauthentically for several hours every single workday will put a cap on how high the quality of your consciousness and thus your life can raise. The last sign is that you fantasize or have daydreams of alternative life paths. Pay attention to what your mind keeps returning to. Is it a different career, more creative freedom, more time with people you love, or a totally different lifestyle? When the fantasy keeps coming back, it's often a clue pointing towards what you're meant to explore. Ultimately, misalignment comes from being disconnected from your soul. By turning inward, deprogramming old conditioning, and realigning with your heart, you can come to understand your purpose and how to fulfill it.
A new quantum computer has shattered all records and breaks Google's previous quantum supremacy record by 100-fold, or literally 2 orders of magnitude better than the fastest computer that Google could possibly build, at least the fastest quantum computer. And as the tagline on TechSpot says, yes, we've truly entered an area where classical supercomputers simply cannot compete. And the cool thing about this particular chip, which we're about to get into here as soon as this video is done, is that its level of accuracy is extremely high, or more specifically, its level of quantum decoherence is very, very low. They came up with some novel ways to protect the quantum information so that the error rate for the chip is decades ahead of its time. So I'm going to go ahead and put a pause on this cute little graphic, and let's scroll down to the details. So Google Sycamore was the one that previously held the quantum computing record by completing a task in 200 seconds that would have taken a classical supercomputer about 10,000 years to finish. It was specifically...
She said, "Oh, no, dear one, there's no death. You're either alive on the earth side or you're super alive here." And she said, "With you, you're kind of both. There's a cord that is attaching you still to your body. And if you decide you're going to stay, that cord will be broken. And if you decide you're going to go, then you'll go back to your body, and you know, the choice is yours." I said, "I don't understand. How am I not dead?" She said, "There's no death. You know this. You learned this. When you were little in primary school, you were taught that energy isn't created or destroyed. It just changes form. That's God's law borrowed by man." And it was just such a shock to me. How could I have ever doubted that there was an afterlife? I mean, I believed in God and everything, but kind of as a fail-safe in case I died, you know, I didn't really know if there was an afterlife. I hoped there would be. But what she said scientifically in my nurse brain made perfect sense. So I'm there with her in her arms and just kind of basking in the glow of it, and I realize that she's gone. But I start hearing this thundering. It was shaking everything, and I could see that all the things that had ever existed were shaking, and all the things that were yet to exist were shaking. And I thought, oh no, it's God. And that was my exact reaction. And I thought, oh my gosh, think of something good you've done, because I knew my grandmother could read my mind, and if she could read my mind, so could he. And so he gets closer and closer, and as he gets right there in my presence, there's this brilliant glow. And it was so strange because it didn't feel uncomfortable. As bright as the light was, you would think it would. It was like looking at the sun. And so when he gets in close to my presence, he says in this thunderous voice, "I am." And my immediate comedic brain thought, yeah, you are. I was just blown away by, I wish I had better words to put to it, but to be in that spot with the known creator of the universe, and he knew me,
Uber says it will launch Uber Air in Dubai later this year, letting riders book all electric air taxis directly in the Uber app. The Uber taxi, flown by a certified commercial pilot, will seat 4 passengers and take off vertically with 6 propellers, flying up to 200 miles per hour. The aircraft is now in the final stages of FAA certification.
So they're rolling out the helicopters, and trust and believe they will be the biggest purchasers of that robo-taxi. So Uber is not slowing down whatsoever.
Fact. Daylight savings time is really bad for us. Every year when we spring forward on the second Sunday of March, setting our clocks forward by an hour and giving everyone an extra hour of sunlight in the evening for the summer months, we all lose an hour of sleep. And this single hour of sleep loss is so disruptive to our sleep cycle, the next day is a nightmare. On the Monday after we spring forward, U.S. hospitals see a 25% increase in heart attacks. Another study found that the week after we spring forward, there are 6% more fatal car crashes in the U.S. And the study suggests 28 fatal car accidents a year could be prevented if we got rid of daylight savings time. And another study found there are more days lost to workplace injuries on the Monday after we spring forward than any other day of the year. Daylight savings was initially introduced to the U.S. in 1918 as a wartime measure during the First World War, setting the clocks forward by an hour so everyone would get an extra hour of sunlight in the evening and therefore use less electricity. But it might be time we get rid of it.
And I actually think they are in the middle of getting rid of it. They say it wastes a whole lot of time and resources.
Trees are insane. Because what do you mean this tree started to grow in 1525 AD? Here to here is an entire human life. But the tree was alive 400 years.
You've previously said on our program you believe that there are underwater bases that are being accessed through this transit from extraterrestrial beings. Given how many of these sightings are from naval aircraft and naval vessels off the coast of San Diego, is that where you believe some of these underwater bases are likely to be located?
Yeah, if they're there, there's 5 areas in our waters that I've been told by military officials and former military officials that they would have to be, because outside of quantum physics, there's no way something can travel light years. I mean, how are you going to pack for that? You know, I about have to take a pickup truck if I want to travel from Knoxville to Nashville just for all the food and supplies I got to take. So honestly, Matt, light years, that's just out of our realm unless we talk quantum physics, and that's kind of voodoo to me anyway. I don't really understand it at all. I know what they're telling me. I just don't. It's hard for me to grasp. So something would have to be here, either for millennium or a base of some sort, and that's where it would have to be. That's what I've been told. I hope we get to the bottom of it. I doubt we will, but this is a start.
Quantum mechanics is voodoo to a lot of people, but to extraterrestrials, it's probably a regular conversation.
I don't think you're ready for this one. This is Alien Races Part 3, the Pleiadians. So these guys are typically what we refer to as the Nordics, and they're said to be this benevolent species of extraterrestrials that visit Earth a lot, and they've been guiding us for millennia. And you pretty much can't tell the difference between them and us. They could be walking around us and you wouldn't know it. Except on average, they're taller. The females are between 6.5 to 7 feet tall, and the males are between 6.5 to 8 feet tall on average. And they have these uniquely colored eyes, long blonde hair, and they live for 1,000 years. Many think that ancient myths of sky gods or angelic beings point back to early encounters with these Pleiadians. And even today, people are still reporting them, with the 1950s and 60s having a big uptick in the number of people reporting encounters with them all around the world. Now, we call these beings Pleiadians because they're from the Pleiades star system, some 444 light years from Earth, but according to several contactees, their home planet is called Era, which orbits the star Taygeta. So they refer to themselves as the Erins or the Taygetans. And according to experiencers who have interacted with them, they're said to follow the cosmic law of one. And they also believe that all intelligent life in the universe shares a common ancestor. They're also part of the Galactic Council and participate in the Melchizedek Starseed program, meaning that some Pleiadians incarnate their souls on Earth, so some of you out there could be a starseed. And we always get the question, why don't these beings help us directly? Well, much like in Star Trek, there's apparently a kind of prime directive that says they can't interfere with developing civilizations, but they can send their starseed souls to help guide humanity from within and kind of in the background. Are you a starseed? Leave a comment and let me know what you want to hear about next.
There is an island in the Andaman chain called North Sentinel Island.
the 39 people that are direct descendants of people who left Africa 60,000 years ago.
We don't know if there's 39 or 300. They kill everybody who lands there, essentially.
Yeah.
An English person buggered them, which is why they don't want anyone landing. There actually are some very weird videos where we throw them coconuts because coconuts don't occur in their island, and we actually have non-hostile contact. But the most important part of it is India. They do not know that they are claimed by something called India. And they don't know that they have a Fermi problem because India won't let anyone land unless they break the law. So the Great Filter of North Sentinel Island is a model for why don't we see anybody? Does India exist at some sort of UFO level?
TW also described a cave stone that was part of the initial intelligence briefing before his mission. The stone depicted two skeletal beings, one stabbing the other, and the date was stamped 1632 to 1634 range. He says the carved figures closely resembled the actual skeletal remains he later found underground. And when asked about the skeletons, TW revealed a detail that clearly caught Ross's attention. Two of the skeletons had 2 rows of teeth in the lower mandible, along with abnormal canine structures. Other skeletons had a single row. It's also worth noting that what TW and Chad are describing is not without historical parallels here. The 1947 Roswell incident remains the most well-known case of the crash retrieval involving non-human remains, and like this story, it featured rapid military involvement and heavy secrecy. Ross himself mentioned during the interview that he had just returned from Peru investigating the tridactyl specimens, the Nazca bodies, which were presented to Mexico's Congress in 2023 as possible non-human remains.
Did you know that this voice recorder thing from Home Alone 2 was made specifically for the movie? It's true. Director John Hughes wanted a futuristic prop that Kevin could use to outsmart the adults. So how did we get this? Well, the film's studio, 20th Century Fox, had recently partnered with a toy company called Tiger Electronics. Hughes met with them to design something for Kevin to use, and 3 weeks later, they created this, the Talkboy, a handheld voice recorder that could play back Kevin's voice at different speeds. But Tiger Electronics was smart. They didn't just make a prop, they made an actual product and got the studio's permission to sell it. So what happened? Well, the first model, released in 1992 alongside the film, did not have a voice changer, so it didn't sell well. But the second model did, and when it was released in 1993 along with the Home Alone 2 VHS tape, chaos ensued. Stores had not ordered enough product, and as a result, the deluxe Talkboy was one of the most sought-after toys during the 1993 holiday season. It sold out across the US and continued to be a bestseller for several more years, even helping Tiger Electronics get acquired by Hasbro in 1998. And you can follow me for more interesting videos.
We are the sum total of...
Good morning, everyone. My name is Donna Hare, and I worked at Philco Ford Aerospace from 1967 to 1981. During that time, I was a design illustrator, draftsman. I did the launch slides and landing slides, and also projection plotting boards, lunar maps for NASA. We were a contractor, but most of the time I worked on site, in Building 8. I had the opportunity to do extra work during downtime, which was between missions, and I walked into a photo lab, which was the NASA lab across the hallway. I had a secret clearance, which is not that high, but I was able to go into restricted areas, which this was. At the time, I was talking to one of the techs in there, and he drew my attention to a photograph, a NASA photograph. It had a dot on it. And I said, what is that? Well, he drew my attention to it, and I said, is that a dot on the emulsion? And he said, and he's smiling, and he has his hands crossed, and he said, round dots on the emulsion don't leave round shadows on the ground. And this was an aerial photograph of the Earth, I'm assuming the Earth, because it had pine trees on it, and the shadows of the craft, or whatever it was, were in the same angle as the trees. And by its very nature, UFO, and I wanted to clarify that to a gentleman that was talking to me, means unidentified. So I did not know what this was. But I realized at this point that it's very secret, that it was kept secret, because I asked him, what are you going to do with this piece of information? And he said, we always airbrush these out before we sell them to the public. So they're pesky little creatures appearing on this photograph they wanted to get rid of. After that, I decided I would ask questions to other people that work there. And I found that I had to ask them away from the site and not on site. A guard told me that he was asked to burn some photographs and not to look at.
It's pretty wild that they want to hide so much from the public. And at the same token, even if they were to just let the public know, I don't think a lot of the public would even believe.
Where are the aliens?
When you say, what are the aliens? What do you mean?
Where are the aliens? Like, why don't we see them? A lot of people think we see aliens, but I've not seen any evidence of aliens. You know, we've got 6,000 satellites in orbit, and not once have we had to maneuver around an alien spacecraft.
Right. But on this Earth, the U.S. military has had to do a lot of maneuvering around objects they can't explain.
I mean, there's always a bunch of classified programs that are underway of new aircraft and new missiles and things. So that are classified even within the military. So it's, you know, only if you have the top secret compartmented clearance would you know about this new program. So then, you know, some pilot sees something fast, moving fast, and says, "Hey, I saw a UFO." I'm like, "Yeah, that was actually a new weapons program, but we can tell you that." The split second I see any evidence of aliens, I will immediately post that on the X platform, and it'll probably be our #1 post of all time.
That'll be your biggest day,
yes,
for sure.
Now, we just seen the young lady in the last video talk about how they were burning photos of these little gremlins in space. So somebody's got to tell the truth out here. I don't know if Elon Musk just isn't looking hard enough, or if these people from these other organizations are lying.
This is the real reason why they had the war in Afghanistan. See, they lied to y'all. It's this ET body that they was looking for. Now look at this. Look at the jewelry that's on this ET. And look at the body structure. This is definitely not human. Tell me what y'all think.
Class, humanoid. Type, human. Variant 3. Date, July 4th, 1947. This is the Roswell alien type. According to nurses and doctors that were on the scene, these little humanoids are about 4.5 feet tall. They have larger heads than a typical humans in proportion. They're bald. Their eyes are small and sunken. Their noses were concave with 2 small openings. They had no ears, but holes on the side of their heads. They had no teeth, but what looked like a rawhide strip where their teeth would be, and they had 4 fingers on each hand.
So they even got little drawings of them. The clip before that, they actually have a physical body of one. So either Elon is an alien, or these aliens are just putting on that cloak when he comes around because they don't want to be seen by him.
These workers were on an oil rig out in Brazil when they captured something weird in the ocean. What looks like this huge bright light in the middle of the water. There's nothing around it, nothing underneath that could account for what's causing this light. Is this a USO or something else going on? Take a look at this footage and tell me what you think.
Vai pousar ali, hein? Olha lá, cara, aquela luz. Olha lá. O que é aquilo, cara? Olha. Que luz é aquela, mano? Olha lá a luz. Que luz louca, mano. Ah, o sol morreu, foi pra lá, não foi pra cá, não. O sol morre lá. O sol se pôs lá, ó. Que luz é aquela ali? Vai diminuindo. Olha lá. meio do nada. Mentira.
What if I told you that the creation of AI was completely inverted, upside down, and backwards from the creation of man? So we know that Satan cannot create. He can only corrupt, destroy, and try to manipulate. We also know he wanted to be like God. He wants to be like God. Well, we know that God can hear everything, see everything, be everywhere. Satan wants to be like God, so he also wants to see everything, be everywhere, hear everything. Omnipresence. Well, think about it for a second. AI is everywhere right now. It sees everything. It hears everything. We all have a phone. It also is about to control everything artificially. This should remind you, by the way, of the Eye of Sauron from Lord of the Rings, which was a complete parable and, metaphor for all-seeing eye or Satan. Now, with the creation of man, God made man in his image. But now, man is turning away from God and making AI and robots in their image, or in our image. So the creation of man is diametrically opposed to the opposite story, to man creating AI. And eventually the plan is to merge us with AI. And if we were merged with AI, and if AI is summoning the demon, as Elon Musk said, then that would be also in our brains with this Neuralink and all these other chips they have planned. So do you see where I'm going with this? They're also trying to create artificial immortality with the idea of merging our consciousness, uploading it to the cloud. Artificial immortality. What we're going through in this pinnacle moment in human history on Earth right now is 100% biblical, and you better get right with God.
Notice how the Bible says the Antichrist will rise to power. The Bible shows that in the end times, the nations will cry peace and security, but then destruction will come. Why? Well, because Daniel describes how an Antichrist kingly figure will rise, bringing peace right before he turns on the people of God. Notice how it describes the Antichrist's rise to power. It says that he will be empowered by Satan. Now, personally, I don't believe the Beast King has yet received this satanic empowerment, but look what it says happens first. How he rises to power. It says he emerges from a coalition of nations. And here it references the 10 kings of Daniel, which also parallels what Revelation says about a coalition of kings. So basically, the future king, Antichrist, beast, will be involved in a coalition of nations, and those nations will give him the authority. All of this suggests that the Antichrist rises after some type of global alliance. Now you see why prophecy teachers are watching this very closely. Because something like this is fertile ground for a leader like that to arise from. And then look, it says that he gains power through strategy, not just war. By peace, he shall destroy many. Deception through diplomacy, possibly peace agreements. Wow. So, who is the Antichrist? Well, we've said this before, but we don't believe it's Kushner, because the Antichrist will be a kingly governing type of figure. Kushner is one who pulls strings behind the scenes in a mastermind type of way. And so if you watch this video, you will see where we lean regarding what his role could be. Now, the Beast King? Well, God hasn't released us to declare someone as the Antichrist until certain things happen. But if you want to know where we lean with that, check out the end of this video and pay attention to the imagery. Also, next week we will have a video on the Omen, which will be interesting, but it's also going to secretly hint at a few things in a very strategic way. So you got to have your thinking cap on. Don't miss that when it comes. Now, this first Board of Peace meeting was nearly 4 hours long, but if you watched it, paying close attention, a few things do become clear.
Dots are definitely being connected, and we know something's up because how are these ancient texts able to line up with what's going on today? Something's up.
Aging doesn't have to be acceptable. In my world, aging is a medical condition that's very common, and it's increasingly treatable. Even if we cured all cancer today, we would only live an average of an extra 2.5 years. Let that sink in. All cancer's gone today. We only live on average another 2.5 years. Why? Because all of the diseases are going up at the same time. So we need to tackle all of the diseases at once, and that's aging. Aging is the cause of these diseases. And what I'm going to tell you today is that next month we're going into human clinical trials to test for the first time in history whether we can reverse the aging process and cure diseases. We can tackle aging because we now believe we understand why we age. And it's not wear and tear. It's not that we just wear out like a car. Our bodies are not like cars. Our bodies are more like computers that can be programmed and reprogrammed and rebooted to be young again. We are like computers, not machines. One analogy, and hopefully you all remember what a compact disc is. We think aging is like scratches on a CD. The DNA is the music, so we get beautiful music when we're young, but when we get old, we cannot read the beautiful music. Our cells do not read the DNA correctly, so the cells, they become lost, they become confused, and our old cells do not make the right proteins and they get diseases. This, we believe, is aging. But what's amazing is we found that you can polish the CD, you can get rid of the scratches and rejuvenate cells so they're young again. And to put it another way, you can reinstall the software of the body so that it's young again. We can quite literally, in my lab, reverse the age of cells and of very complex organs and tissues, including the eye, the most complex, and the brain. We can reverse aging by 75% in 6 weeks. We actually were able to show that using this method, we could cure blindness in animals for the first time. We could cure blindness. And the world reported just last week that the US FDA regulatory body cleared the way for the first age reversal human trial. It's a big deal. The FDA is very supportive. And we will know this year, maybe in the next few months, if age reversal works.
Even if they don't get it within this year or next year, certainly within the next 5 years, they're going to get it accomplished because you can see how focused he is and everybody will be jumping on. Well, you guys, hey, that's another one in the books, man. I always appreciate you guys for stopping by, watching another one, and learning with me. If you haven't already, always make sure to smash that like button. If you haven't already, smash that subscribe button and join the iTrack fam, man. We're shooting for 200,000 subscribers this year, man. Go ahead and be a part of the fam. And hit that hype button, and I'll catch you on the next one.